man, in the evening time, you understand, every time. Grand evening, and welcome to RockTrue Beatz. I am your host, Marley King, or Chris Lyon, and we thank you for joining us as we rock truth to absolutely nothing at all. RockTrue Beatz is a cross-cultural response to the lack of choice in music today. RockTrue Beatz is designed to provide a sound message from theory to lab to life, while encouraging the necessity to return back to origin by way of relative keys, his kingdom principles. RockTrue Beatz seeks to inspire, enlighten, and highlight upcoming and established local and international kings and queens, musical artists of character, while promoting kingdom consciousness and awareness of who we are and to whom we belong. Yes, yes, peace, peace. Grand evening to everybody tuning in near and far, home and abroad. Give thanks, man. We always give thanks, and it's a beautiful night as we get in out here. Fall time creeping in on us right now. You know, some good music, some Count Ossie. We're highlighting today the mystical revelation of Rastafari. You understand? The beauty of creation, of the creator. You understand? It's something very deep. But nonetheless, man, it's a beautiful evening. Fall time is my time of year. I'm a winter baby, December 23, waiting for my 20th, sorry, I'm jumping ahead in life. My 29th Earth Strong coming up here in the month of December. So, you know, I'm a fall and winter fanatic. So it's my time of year right now, you know, the transition period. A lot of us making transitions in life right now, you know. It's very deep. The world is in a big transition right now. A big shift is occurring right now, whether or not you can see it or not. But trust and believe, all open eyes and open minds, you know, they're going to see what's going on. And it's a serious shift going on out there, man. So make sure you in tune with yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit. And don't let nobody compromise that either, man. Don't let nobody think for you. Keep that free reign of thought and make sure that... Yeah, I see you, Doc Doc. You always got to give the eye for that, man. Yeah, man, that's respect.
Because
you understand?
So true. It's like, you know, and then there's, you know, that saying that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. But it's not even just the 5 people. It's the 5 like energies that you spend the most time around. Like if the first thing you do when you get up is you turn the news on, and then you got the news playing in your ear, you look down on your phone, you got the news popping up, then guess what? One of your 5 people is the news. And I haven't yet to find any news that just randomly pops some positivity up. You know, like positive news isn't like news, I guess, anymore. Like, you know, you barely hear about like, you know, the stories of the kid who designed like some life-saving, you know, device or something from, you know, bubblegum wrappers or something like that. Like that's the type of stuff that I see as news. But they're not sharing stuff like that. They're not talking about stuff like that on the mainstream outlets. So I do. You know, I ain't gonna lie, I rely on my Facebook timeline for my news because most of my people share positive stories and, you know, things that I actually want to know about.
Absolutely, I agree. You know, the news nowadays has evolved into more so entertainment. We see everything in this world has moved toward an entertainment aspect or perspective of things. You know, at least shoot, you understand? You understand? Let me rate this, man. Let me rate that, man. Everybody waiting for me to judge, man. You know, when I hear the word rate, I think of judge, man, you know? And we always want to cast judgment upon people, but nobody can judge you for your creativity. As long as your creativity follows the righteous lines of morals and principles, you understand? No wickedness, man. No wicked intentions, you know? You have a wicked intention, you understand? I'm going to rate you, man, if you're out there doing wicked. Oh, we love it, man. It's such a crazy world out there. Crazy time we living in, man. Like I said, but we holding firm, man. And instead of highlighting all of this wickedness going on, you know, we need to see more goodness in this world. That's why I always like to hear people like yourself speaking on, hey, why don't we see more of this, you know, discovery? These young children are discovering how to create these solar panels to, you know, power their school, or how to power a pump or something like that. I'm just giving examples right there. But nonetheless, why don't we see more things like this to highlight us, you know, and to make us feel empowered? You know, they don't want that sense of the people feeling empowered, because what happens when the people feel empowered? A revolution, you understand? And I see it happen so many places across this world, and it's never highlighted like that either. You know, there's so many revolutions going on worldwide, and this, when I speak of the shift going on in this world, it's a serious conscious shift. If y'all understand, we now have left the age of Pisces, and now we're in the age of Aquarius right now. And the age of Aquarius is symbolic of being the age of thought, the age of creation, of wisdom. You know, all the wisdom we've gathered, we put to work, and things start to get built now. This is a great way to interpret this, especially to allow yourself as an individual to feel empowered. Know that we're in the shift, you know that we're in this age of Aquarius, and there's a reason for that. When we soak in all of this esoteric knowledge meaning what's coming from within, and then we have exoteric knowledge, the outside knowledge that we're seeking in. So when we take both of these, we start to get a more clearer and less biased perspective. And I think it's always important to have like that, because we have a lot of bias in this world. You know, information says you got to do this and you have to do that, and then the other side of the table saying, no, you don't have to do this or you don't have to do that. And we see that, and look how broad I make that, because it covers everything we see on television nowadays. And I'm using television as an example because this is common for most people. Most people watch television, or live vision. You know, word, sound, power. Once again, you know, we have to see these things, man. You know, it doesn't mean everything is a joke or everything is some wicked thing, you know, but it just means to keep your eyes open, because what's given, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see.
Yeah, this discernment comes from that mind.
Nice word.
That seeking of knowledge of truth, because it's like you can know something is true, but then the minute that there's any evidence to the contrary, now your truth is shaken. But the more that you start finding evidence to the contrary, the better you are at defending your truth, because now you can understand that there are other perspectives, there are other avenues, there's other things going on that can absolutely be true independent of your truth. And I think that's what people are really starting to kind of step into, is that my truth doesn't have to impede on your truth. You don't have to change how you feel, think, live, or be in order for me to be truly who I am. And I think that's a great like global shift that we're starting to see. And there's a lot more support for that independent freedom of being a part of the collective, the whole world population. Even when the Black Lives Matter movements and stuff first started, and protests and things like that, that was a worldwide thing. Like people in Europe, people in Russia and China, they were all protesting our stuff here. They were all the way in their country having the same feelings that we were having here in the middle of the mess. And that is so beautiful and lovely, that you don't have to be present anymore. And I love that. We're moving to a global mindset, to a global people, because that's how we started out as. We weren't separated when we first got here. The continents were pretty much all one landmass. You could walk from one end to the other and be cool. And then, you know, stuff happens. And now we assume that because now there's water in between us, like, so the internet, like, basically reconnected the whole landmass again. And now we're all one again, and we're starting to move and feel as one again. And I love that.
It's deep. You just made a great point of how how something that started so small here in the States, a movement like that, had reached to the farthest corners of the so-called planet Earth. You know what I'm saying? It reached to all these different spots. So everybody felt that same pain that was going on, that same energy that was being let out there into the universe. Everybody was feeling that, you know. And we look at once again, the television, you know, or the music box, and we see how these things are able to go ahead and project a message out there, in a sense. I don't know if you ever seen the movie 1984 or read the book 1984. By George Orwell.
I did Cliff Notes. I didn't make it through it because we was doing a whole lot of
Orwell
that semester.
Well, I recommend to you, Dr. Ak, and anybody else out there, if y'all get a chance, check out the movie. You know, maybe the book is a little too long for people to read, or maybe they can't get into reading, whatever the excuse may happen to be. But check out the movie called 1984. It's a black and white one. Don't check out the color one, because I always think that they don't ever do it enough justice. These remakes always kill me, man. You know, it's always too much extraness, you know. And nonetheless, check out the old 1984. But it starts to absolutely, you understand? They want to
dramatize stuff.
They want to rate you, man. Oh man, hey, we need to be some comedians, man. We some funny folks, I tell you. Yo, so nonetheless, we think about how all this information is put out there, and when it's projected out there on these different devices, And it goes to show the power of them too. I'm sure the people that created these particular devices, like the television or the radio, things of that nature, they knew the power of it, you know. Or maybe when they discovered it, they didn't know the power so much. But the wicked folks in higher places, you understand, seen that and grabbed a hold of that tool and utilized it in their own particular way. That's why we have, you know, things that I guess the mainstream term for it is false flag. Everybody always throwing out that word false flag, but that just simply means that they putting some information out there that's some malarkey, man. You know what I'm saying? They derived something, they created something, and we're in the age of technology. Let's face it. Any of us can go on the internet and be able to create a slide or manipulate you know, a particular video to add this or take out that. So we can make so many people. It's easier to convince 10,000 people than it is to convince 10. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when we have a device like this and it's made it worldwide, we always have to be mindful of the information that's being put out there. Like you said, use discernment. I think that's something that a lot of people have never used in their life. They've never had to make a decision like that. You know, maybe it was decision whether or not they, you know, split second. The car was coming. I had to make a turn or I had to hit the brakes, you know, one of the two. Right. But we don't see people using the process of discernment no more. And that was a big thing in my life, especially as I started opening my mind to the world around me, you know, seeing things from a whole different light, from a bird's eye view perspective. You understand? And once I was able to have enough information on this side and enough information on that side, then I can create and form my own unbiased perspective or opinion. Right. And a lot of cases it's not even an opinion because it reflects what's really going on out there in the world. You know, we live in a day and age where if we use discernment properly, we could really do some powerful things, and a lot of people can come together. And when we try to come together, we always know that we battle in the wicked. So there's always going to be some type of interference going on, man. You know, look, man, this connects right into what you was talking about the last show. You was talking about, you gave these great analogies about the free radicals in the body, man, and the iron level.
Yeah, yep. And that was serious, I'm glad you brought that point up about discernment too, because discernment is independent of any preconditioned thoughts, beliefs, morals, ideas that you have had or has been taught to you. Discernment is a very objective decision-making tool. So it's whatever facts you have on hand now, not, oh, well, when I was a kid, or my mama said, or my friend down the street said that when they went to, no. You don't, that's not factored into discernment, because is that a fact that you have on hand in front of you that you gathered yourself in this moment?
See?
Right. People can't do that. They don't want to do that. Like, nah, because they put all of this, all of this weight on these people that they trust in their life to give them proper information. But you can't do that because the way they perceive the information was true for them. But if you went and put your eyes on that same thing when they looked at it, I guarantee you're going to get a whole different meaning from it. Because I do. When I say, oh, well, where did you hear that? And if they tell me, I'm going to go and, okay, well, where's the clip? Or where's the article? Let me read it. Let me see. That's why everybody be like, oh, I want to see. Because they know you got to see it with your own too, to make your own decision about how to feel about it, what to do about it, what not to do about it, how not to feel about it. Like, you can't let someone tell you how you should feel about something. Like, that's always weird when people be mad for me. Like, I'm not upset. Like, you should be upset because they ain't got. I'm like, well, I'm not though. Like, but thanks for turning up for me though, but it's not necessary right now.
It's a wicked thing right there, man. I tell you what, man, it's a world full of, it's a big ball of confusion, man. Like I think it was the OJs who said that, man. Ball of confusion, something serious, man. You know, they talk about that, man, and that's what's going on nowadays. We've reached a point in time where things have become. What you got going on over there, man? Oh my goodness, man!
I'm still listening to the track.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I'm playing it on my end, so it's really, really loud to me. So I can't hear nothing you're saying if I turn it up any louder than this.
That's no pressure. We're gonna dedicate a
sound. It sounds like something from New Orleans now.
Man, you know, this is from I believe they recorded this down in Jamaica, man, in Trelawney, which is over toward Kingston. You understand? So it was a real deep piece of music that he put together, and a lot of it's live recordings. Because what's this album?
Sounds like
1973, 19,
yeah. It sounds like
and
you can hear
it's a
all
very
the horns.
yeah, man. It's
Right.
such a
Yes, they
it's a
got some little
masterpiece in
shaking
my eyes.
going.
Watch out now. Look, man, don't float away, Doctor. Don't float away. The show's not over just yet. And if you float away, I'm gonna float with you, man. That's
Right.
serious piece. Yeah, man. I tell you what, analog. We be diving all over the place, y'all, when it comes to RockTrue Beatz, because all of this is connected in one way or another. But
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going to jump to now is just the sound of analog. Look how it's captivated you right now. You know, these are some live instruments being played. I was just making beats yesterday. I was onto the digital audio workstation making some beats and stuff, and it's so tough to take the stock sounds and just listen to the stock sounds. You have to start adding effects. You have to start adding these different analog notches and filters on them in order to get these sounds that we're hearing right there. Which is, like I said, why I love the acoustic sound. I love to play instrument, man. You know, it could be something as simple as what these cats are doing right here. A couple of djembes, you know, got a whole circle of drummers. Then you got somebody on the horn section, you know, and it starts to get very deep because you start to feel each individual piece, man. You know, you understand. And then you put Count Ossie on the vocals and he chanting the psalm again, you know? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of pieces in this particular album, the mystic revelation of Rastafari, that come with a lot of different psalms or different chants or Bible verses. You understand? And it's so simple to make music like this. This is what reggae music was, in a sense, when you first started to hear it come about, you know? We started to hear people back in the 60s and the 70s, man. And everything would be composed of these different biblical verses like that, you know, all in the honor of His Imperial Majesty Ali Selassie the First. You understand? Something serious, man. Emperor Ethiopia, you understand? Higher heights, man. King of Kings, Negusa Negas, Lord of Lords. Something serious, man. But if y'all ever get a chance, man, really start to dive deep into the crates, man, because that's where the gems are. You know, you want that music that speaks to the soul. That's also gonna get your body moving, you know. You want to listen to dive in the crates, man. Listen to something like the mystical revelation of Rastafari by Count Ossie. Ossie, Count Ossie. That's respect, man. One day I'm going to have the chance to meet Brethren. And you know what I'm saying? Put me on the microphone or put me on the drum because I need to be a part of the band. Respect. Yeah, some serious piece right there. Yeah, man, it's something I wanted to jump into before we started to get into the topic of discussion today, man. It has to jump back to a little bit about the health and wellness you were speaking about this last hour. And we was talking about iron. You know, iron is one of them essential pieces, man, for everybody in this world. You know, I find iron to be a benefit to me and boosting my energy, keeping my grogginess away, keep me from feeling sleepy or tired or lethargic throughout the day. You know, it really heightens me up because it allows that greater oxygen intake into the body. It keeps the blood from oxidizing, meaning that it cuts off the intake of the oxygen. But right here, you see what I got in this cup right here. Something really nice, man. I wish I had the herbs right here on hand to show you, but dealing with a little bit of dandelion root and yellow dock root. Two great pieces of iron right there. Some nice bitters in my cup right now. Bitter,
Yeah.
bitter is better. You understand? It's a nice piece right there. And if you know anything about these, per roughly 100, per roughly 100 milligrams, 100 grams of each one of these. And remind you, these are roots, so they're pretty heavy. So 100 grams is going to come pretty quick, you know, roughly 2 to 3 tablespoons, which would be roughly your 3 cups of tea that you should drink a day when it comes to looking for your medicinal benefits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in this cup right here, I'm dealing with the yellow Daco Rumex Crispus, and then we got the, I'm jacking it all up. I'm getting ahead of myself. I got dandelion and yellow dock in my cup. So I got Taraxacum officinal and I got Miss Rumex Crispus, yellow dock. You understand?
Yeah.
2 great pieces of iron right here. And these are loaded up in roughly 39% of your daily. So this is per 100 grams. So let's, like I said, think about it. We got them 3 different portions. This is roughly 70% of your vitamin C right here per day. Your daily recommended daily intake, your RDI. Okay. Roughly 70% of your vitamin C right there.
Yep.
And also when it comes to the iron, roughly 39% iron in that. So if you're looking for these heavy intakes, I know you was talking about earlier, a lot of misconceptions are put out there because of the SAD, man, the SAD diet. You know, what a sad thing right there, the Standard American diet.
like what do they call it, hidden hunger and
Hey,
malnutrition. People think, when you think malnutrition, they think like a, a real skinny person, or a underfed. No, malnourished means you are not getting your proper nutrition. So you can be overweight, obese, and be malnourished because you're still not getting the daily nutrition that you need. And when I say daily, because your essentials you have to eat daily, because your body does not store them, nor does it make them.
you overstand? It's all about the intake, the conscious intake of these particular minerals and vitamins, man. And they're of abundance all around us. We just have to know where to look. I can imagine, and maybe other people can imagine this too. Imagine if the supermarkets were taken away from us, man. Could you imagine that? What would really happen? I could kind of visualize and create a motion picture in my head of what the hell would happen when all that went, down into the earth. I think a lot of people would perish, because they don't have the knowledge of the land, or they don't have the knowledge of how to get sufficient nutrition into the body in order to keep them moving and functioning, especially in a survival situation. What you're going to do when the lights go out? What you're going to do when the gas gets cut off? What you're going to do when there's no more water? Do you know how to find these things? Do you know how to
You be
create these
watching
things?
all these
Because
zombie shows and these apocalyptic movies and all this other stuff. But they know if any of that happened to them in real life, they would be up a creek without a paddle.
trust and believe, man, without a damn paddle. And I find that very challenging in life, because a lot of people, they don't take the time to go out and practice things like this. And what I mean by that is by taking yourself and going out. What we consider camping, I consider it, testing your ability to survive. Go out into the woods with just maybe not even, you don't even have to come with a tent, man. Come with a tent if you want to, but bring something like that, minimum supplies, and stay out there for a day or two, and see what you could do. See what you can gather up, see what you can find. It'll probably be beneficial for most people's body, because seeing the diet that they consuming nowadays, my goodness, they probably need a break from eating some of the things that they consuming. You understand? So I
Right.
think it's very important that we find some time, to take this knowledge that we gain, whether or not we watching these zombie movies that are almost foreshadowing of what the future could represent, or even people that's watching these television shows just for entertainment, or watching these movies just for entertainment. Take some of these skills that you're watching from these and utilize them, because what is knowledge without use? It becomes stagnation, it becomes nothing, obsolete. So it's important that we always make sure that we keep that strong mind and go out there and test the ability, because you don't know if your cell phone's going to work unless you try it out. You don't know if your car's going to drive in the morning unless you start it up and drive it. So let's try out these different things like that. And that's a challenge to everybody in life, man. As we start to grow into the time of the shift in this next year or two, let's really take some things a little more serious. The What'd you say last week as well, and the week before? Something great that came out of this pandemic. We start to see a lot of people becoming more at home. More people want to create. More people want to build. They want to do things like that. So it's allowing the mind to become free again. Break free from the chains. Of the 9 to 5, of the matrix. Even if we're living in that stuff, make time for the self. So that we can utilize these things and take care of the body and take care of the mind and take care of the house, the people around us. Because it's going to be something serious here in the next couple of years. Like I said, I'm I'm losing my job here November 1st because of all of this wickedness going on. It's very unfortunate, but all of the knowledge that I'm gathering and that I have been gathering for the past few years has led me into preparation for this. Even if it came quicker than I suspected, knowing that I've been preparing for this gives me that sense of security, that sense of self-sufficiency. When we know how to go out in the land and pick out different herbs that's growing in the ground, or different leaves that we could take from the trees, or different barks that we could scrape out, different pieces of wood, knowing their flexibility and their strength, to know what we can make weapon, or we can make bow and arrow and things of that nature out of. It's very important that everything we accumulate over the course of years, man, we begin to utilize them. And if it's not important to you, it should be important now more than ever, man. Because if you don't see it, you're gonna get lost in the rift. So let's make sure we all be mindful of that as well. Another great piece of iron right there, Doc, is old yellow dock right there. Yellow dock, one of my favorite bitters, and burdock root.
Yeah,
Burdock is something
burdock.
I
Yeah,
came.
burdock root really
You
good.
like burdock? I
Hmm.
got to ask you this. I ask everybody who says they know burdock. Have you ever cooked with it?
No, I haven't gotten a chance to, but I had some sea moss that had some in it.
Okay, most definitely. Where you got that from? You probably got that from me, man.
No, actually, I got it from Karen Dage. We had her on
Really?
Rock True Queens. Ooh,
Respect,
we
man.
had a whole lot of shows, but she was like one of the earlier guests that we had on Rock True Queens.
It's always a nice one, man. That sea moss mixed with the burdock. Really good strengthening piece of iron right there. A lot of nice B vitamins up inside there, too. Some
That's an
great things for the
earthy
brain,
taste.
some
That's what they call
magnesium and manganese.
it.
Come again? What they
when
call
it
it?
when it tastes like dirt or tree bark, they call it earthy. They say it has an earthy tones. Like, oh, it tastes like dirt
It's an
then, huh?
earth tones.
Tastes like
You
plant.
know, I tell you what, man. And I'm gonna keep it up front with you. When I first started getting into sipping the herbs and such, dealing with the different medicines of Mother Nature, it was something that was very foreign to my palate and foreign to my taste buds, seeing that I've been coaxed into eating sugars and salts my whole life. So when I was taking in these bitters like that, they were super bitter herbs and they would just make me
Yeah,
cringe up every time I drank it. But the body felt so nice afterwards. It felt like I washed my insides, like I wash my tail every single day. You understand? It's something serious like that. And as the course of time progressed, you see me sitting here drinking it now. I don't got no honey in it, no sweets in it. I take it straight up bitter and it tastes delicious. I even taste the sweetness of it. Many things out there have sweetness in them. They have a level of sugar in
exactly.
them,
Yeah,
but it's just not the sugar we're used to tasting. We're used to tasting these
exactly.
heavily fortified pieces. Am I right? Am
That
I
high
right, Doc?
fructose corn syrup ruins everything.
Oh man, for
Everything.
the
Like
baby
even if you
especially, man.
taste it like in comparison to even just regular, like even the processed white sugar, it's a whole completely different sweetness than high fructose corn syrup. And that's why, like, even
Yeah,
though
you're
like
right.
when you look in certain ingredient lists, now I'm gonna give you, this is a pro tip, okay, right here on the ingredient list, the
Take
first
note, everybody.
ingredient from the left to the right, when you read at the top of that list, those are the most abundant ingredients in whatever it is that you're eating. So if you look at something and the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, run. Because how is it that
You
you're
got
eating
a
something
heat.
that's solid? It's got, it's like a bread or something. And the first ingredient, how does that even work out? Like, or to be like water and then high fructose corn syrup. Like, that's pop. That's the ingredient list for pop. Water, high fructose corn syrup, and it's got like some colorants, and then like sometimes they'll have in parentheses less than 2% of, and then they'll have the list of stuff that's less than 2% of that. But you don't know what the 2%. It's a percentage of some whole. You don't know what that whole is. 2% of the tank, 2% of this can, because that's a whole different concentration. Like me as a scientist, I know the container size matters when you're talking about percentages and concentrations.
Yes, you
Okay, because I
understand.
because I have definitely made way too strong of a concentrated solution for an experiment I was doing, and I found out the hard way. When you got to titrate into an overly concentrated basic solution, and you titrating this acid, and you done went through a whole 30 milliliters of this thing that you titrating, but you going drop by
Hey, watch
drop.
out.
That 3 days of titrating because you messed up the concentration. Like, yeah, trust me, it's a difference. So,
Oh, life is so relatable in so many aspects, ain't it?
but that's why I
I
tell
got some
people you
feedback,
gotta.
man. Where it coming from?
Is that me? It might be on my end because I'm trying to get the music to play through for y'all because I can hear it just fine. But
I know you can hear. You getting the meditation over there.
yeah, it's a whole vibe. So let me see.
Hey, watch out. You see, that's like a scary movie right there. We in the month of Halloween. You got somebody right behind you. I see a shadow.
That's my daughter about to plant my water.
I know it is, man. She's sneaking up behind you like Michael Myers, man.
Hmm. And that's why, like, when people talk about like the alternative sweeteners and things like that, and it's not even alternative because they're natural sweeteners. Like stevia is a plant, it's an actual plant, and it's actually sweeter than table sugar. You wouldn't
Surely
know
is. You ever
that.
tasted the plant?
Yeah, once. And I was actually trying to grow some. It's really hard to grow
It
on my
is,
little
man.
balcony. So once we move and we get some actual soil and ground space, I wanna try and grow some of that myself because it's really sweet. And they say like just Like if you use 3 tablespoons of sugar in your coffee, you're not gonna need nowhere near that amount if you got some stevia. So I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yo, you need like a half a teaspoon, man. When I first used it, I put like a whole teaspoon in my thing, thinking it was substituting for like honey or something. And my goodness, that destroyed the particular tea I was making. I had to dump it out. There was no way of filtering that, something serious. So stevia is heavy piece, man. Anybody looking to use stevia, keep it on the low when it comes to your dose. Start off small and build up because she a powerful piece right there, man. Heavy dose of sugar.
right. And there's another one too. It's I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's from a fruit and it's actually really, really,
Oh,
really sweet. Like it's extremely like a real concentrated sweetness.
man, it's right off the top of my head.
Because I'm
My
picturing
goodness.
the fruit, but I
Me
can't think
too.
of the
Me
name.
too. Um.
And
Man, this
sometimes
type of stuff.
they actually cut the sweetness of, like, this fruit is so sweet that when they use it as as a substitute sweetener for table sugar and stuff like that, they actually have to cut that sweetener with like stevia or agave syrup or something. They have to cut it with another sweetener to bring down the
Right.
sweet, that like that's how sweet that the juice from that fruit is. It'll come to me.
I'm looking it up right now because my goodness, it's gonna bother me for a minute. My brain's gonna be running in circles chasing the purple dragon. You understand?
Right. Let me see. And then I ended up. So I was changing the Netflix show for my daughter, and then you know how they pop up with the suggestions and stuff after the shows go off, and it was the show that's called Ada Twist, the scientist. I was like, oh, I had to click on see what it was, and it was like, yes, right up my alley. It's basically monk fruit. Yes, monk fruit. Thank you.
Monk fruit. My goodness, man.
Thank
Oh
you.
man, he came in clutch, man.
Yeah,
How did we
he
not
do.
know that,
He
man?
slide. Yeah, he gonna slide.
Hey, respect, brother. Respect, respect. Monk fruit, that's another type of one. Something that I've never got into using as an alternative for sugar is like what they call date sugar. I
Oh
never used
yeah.
that
No,
before.
but dates, they really are sweet. I usually add that to like my paste jellies and the stuff sauces and stuff that I
Yeah.
sweet sauce that I blend down. Or if I make like my granola bars and stuff, I make it with dates because dried dates are sugar. Like they're
I
really
I
sweet.
tell you I tell you what, Doc. I live off of dates pretty much every day. I feel like I'm an Arab living in the Middle East.
Well, they're
Living
great
in
for fiber and energy and all this
yeah.
stuff. Like they're very good with like sustaining you.
Oh yes. The only rough part I have is it kind of hurt my teeth sometimes. Because of
Mhm.
the heavy sweetness of it. Just a serious
Yeah,
concentration.
they
But
are. They're really
But I love, man. There's
sweet,
so many
like
different kinds of
very
dates,
different.
man. You travel out to the West Coast to California, you find these date groves growing all out there, man. And there's so many different varieties of dates, just like there's many different varieties of other fruits and vegetables. And something that I always find interesting to share too is when we think of fruits, majority of the things that we eat that we consider vegetables are actually fruits. So keep that in mind, y'all. We think about things like peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers and things of that nature. All these fall into the category of fruits. If we want to get deep with it. So it's a deep piece of work right there, and I really enjoy the whole spectrum. I like to eat the colors of the rainbow. You understand? And I like to change with the seasons. We're going from summer where we have certain things available to fall time, and when we're harvesting up things like the pawpaw fruits or the fall medicine like the goldenrod or the dandelion, the yellow burdock. See something serious right now. But life is good, man, when you eat the colors of the rainbow, man. Beautiful piece.
Right. And that's I talk about that every Saturday when I'm cooking. Like I'm gonna tell you like what's the vitamins, what's the nutritional content of what I'm making, and trying to dispel some myths. Like even
Yeah.
just around like different misconceptions. Because people are hopping on all these like bandwagons and stuff like
Yeah,
keto
man.
diet, vegan. Like you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to put a label on a thing. Just make sure that what you put in your mouth is going to serve you in some type of way. If it's not
Absolutely.
serving you, especially as far as your nutrition and your health is concerned, don't eat it. It's really that simple, like real simple. And then the more mindful you are and conscious you are about what you're putting into your mouth, then you're going to be more conscious of the effects that it has on your body. So it's a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, like then ate like some McDonald's or something like that, and then they all jacked up, but they go right back to McDonald's. I'm like, but weren't you
Same
just
way.
complaining about how you had, the runs, or how you was struggling, and you couldn't sleep, you had indigestion, all that, and you go right back and you order the same
The
number, the
same
same
thing,
meal,
man.
and you go and eat it again. So it's just like it's crazy, and I'm just like, why would you do that? Like you don't your brain isn't making the connection between what you just ate and how you feel afterwards, and it's like you do this over and over and over again because those acute feelings of discomfort are to really make you not eat that anymore. But if you
Man,
ignore those acute feelings of discomfort, that's where disease comes in. The dis-ease sets in after the discomfort is ignored. Okay. So it makes your life uneasy because it's
yeah,
dis-ease. That's what that is. So just listen to your body. Like your body is going to tell you what it needs when it needs it, because like what you were saying about the vitamin C and stuff like that. Like if you recently had surgery or you have a injury or something like that and you're in the process of healing, vitamin C is great for that. It helps with creating new tissues and
the
healing back.
overstand
Your
scar
immune
tissue,
system, your
man.
immune system is actually what helps heal your body. When you have a tear in your muscle fibers, and what people don't get is when you work out and that soreness, you have torn muscle fibers. That's what the soreness is. You have hurt your body. So you need that to recover. That is a part of your muscle recovery when you are doing your workouts and things like that. So make sure that you're not just getting protein right after you work out, but also a good source of vitamin C, vitamin A, iron, magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral that ionizes in your body and it helps with muscle relaxation. That's what helps
Yeah,
with your heart arteries and keep your blood pressure down, because your heart is now able to relax, because all of those organs and stuff, your inner organs, your heart, your lungs, your diaphragm, all of that stuff, you don't have physical muscle control over that. They call that somatic muscles, where you can actually control with your mind. So your hands, fingers, arms, those are somatic muscle tissues. Your organs are what do they call 'em? I just had the word. I forget. But it's attached to your parasympathetic nervous system, which means that that's a nervous system that you don't have control over. You can't control it
that's
with your
right.
conscious mind. So that's why you can't suffocate yourself by holding your breath, because your parasympathetic nervous system is going to kick in. It's going to knock you out. First of all, you're going to pass out. And then your parasympathetic nervous system is going to kick in and send the signals back to from your brain to your lungs and tell you to breathe. Your parasympathetic nervous
Look,
system controls your heartbeat. You can't tell your heart to stop beating with a thought. You can't do that, because your heart gonna be like, okay, it sounds good. What does that got to do with me? And that's how all of your that's what they call vital organs. All of your vital organs are like that. You have no conscious control over their function and how they work. But you do have conscious control over their function and how they work, because you control what you eat. When you unconsciously eat food, you are taking away the power that you have over the efficiency of those organs and how they work.
look, man, you talking my language. This music to my ears right now. Sorry, the feedback kind of jacking me up a little bit.
Hold on, let me see.
Yeah, but music to my ears. Music to my ears talking like that. My goodness, man, we're gonna have to fix that issue real quick.
Yeah, is that better?
Let me try now.
Is that better?
Nah, man, still getting that feedback. Feel like I'm in a recording studio with the echo. Okay, that's perfect right there. Yeah, man, excuse that.
Yeah,
But nonetheless, man.
Thing I was still trying to figure out how to get the music in there. This is
All right.
day one on production team, so bear with me.
Hey, man. That's love and respect, man. I'm glad you're putting in the effort, man. It's speaking for itself. It's a good thing. Nonetheless, like I was saying, man, it's crazy how the whoever came up with the concept of fast food. What about potassium? Yeah, potassium, nice, my brethren. You can find potassium in things like dandelion leaves, dandelion roots, You see a beautiful piece of potassium right there. Pawpaw fruits, which is what I'm out harvesting right now, or your soursop, which is what you may find in the local commercial markets. But we take the leaves, we can make nice medicine out of them, get some nice source of potassium. I believe it's like 20%, roughly in the 20
Yep.
20 percentage
Bananas,
of
carrots.
calcium. Absolutely. Bananas, carrots. Look, man, there's so much great things around us. This all wonderful for muscle building and to keep the electrolytes stabilized in the body. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
a lot of people forget about potassium's role in electrolytes. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just drinking a Gatorade. It's not just,
Right.
drinking water, or drinking, fortified water, whatever you're drinking. You can get your electrolytes via potassium and the other different elements that's in
Food
there.
that you normally
You
eat.
understand? You understand? Look, man, you're not making. We're gonna have to do a TED talk for Gary coming up here
I
next
know,
year or
right?
something like that. I'm gonna talk to these folks, man. Like, yo, put us on the stage, man, because we about to bust some people upside the heads, man, with some
Yep.
serious
We
knowledge
talked
of
about
self,
on the
man.
science show when we covered that group that's a part of, I believe, the alkali earth metals.
Ah, yes, man.
So
Alkalinity.
yeah, those are they're very highly reactive with water in their elemental form. So in our bodies, they're either in their ionic state or their um, what is that? The oxide, the metal oxide state or salt. They tend to form salts with halogens in our body. So like the
Yes. We
opposite
go
of
diving deep.
sodium chloride. So you tend that's what the salt and we use both of those. We use sodium and chloride, and then potassium tends to mesh well with chloride as well. And then what other halogen does that usually hook up with? Hydrogen and it's another one. It'll come to me. But yeah, fluoride.
My goodness. You just busted me upside the head, man. I need to keep you in my back pocket, doc. I tell you. It's
Yeah,
coming
we
clutch.
went over that over electrolyte balance and when you have too much sodium in your blood, it ends up disrupting that electrolyte balance. So the action potential. So when your brain sends a signal to any muscle or whatever in your body, the action potential that's created by the electric signal in your brain is carried by the electrolyte shift. So the sodium channels. So you have protein channels that sit inside your cell walls because it has to be an active transport, basically meaning like it has to be activated and it has to actively move those things into the cell, and then it moves potassium outside of the cell. So when there's more potassium outside of the cell, it creates a difference in action potential because sodium moves into the cell faster than the potassium moves out. So you have a positive charge inside and a negative charge outside. Then once the signal goes by, the sodium moves back out and then it switches to a positive charge outside the cell and a negative charge inside. Like relatively speaking,
Yo.
because sodium and potassium both have positive charges. So yeah, they're important in action potentials and doing stuff like that. So muscle contraction and that's why I was saying relaxation. That's why magnesium is important, but
Yeah.
sodium and potassium are important in muscle contraction.
Absolutely. Let's not forget manganese for the brain, my friend.
Yes, I
Manganese for
just
the
talked about
brain.
that today. Yes. Yeah, I have found some infographics, but like I said, I'm still new at the production thing, so I couldn't figure out how to share
Yeah,
like the pictures. But it's a whole bunch of like cool, like visual, like color coded stuff, and I'm like, oh, this gonna be nice right here. So I might have to
I
drop
love it.
some posts in the RockTrue Science and RockTrue Beatz groups, and yeah, and share. I'll just share it
Please
that
do.
way.
Be much appreciated, man. I love that. A wonderful book I wanted to share with y'all, man, that maybe y'all have read or maybe y'all haven't got into, but this is a very deep book. You could actually find it on Amazon right now. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't checked in a while, but if y'all ever seen this one, it's called Alkaline Herbal Medicine. Y'all ever read this before? Doc, you ever seen this or no?
No.
It's a very deep book right here. So this happens to deal with how to reverse diseases in the body and heal it up through consuming more alkalized or electric foods. That's not to say to super alkalize your body. This is just strictly for healing. And
Right.
promoting a lot of conscious consuming. And this book is based off of the African biomineral balance and the way it supports the healthy expression of the African genome in all people. Now, people are probably going to trip out when I say something like that and they say African genome in all people. Well, this goes back to like the theory of evolution. Evolution states that we all come from one particular ancestor in like Ethiopia and Africa. You know what I'm saying? So they talk about that, and if all people originated in there and branched out, started going to different parts of the world and started going to different climates where there was less sunlight and this, that, and the other, and you started having issues with melanation, and the diets had to start
That
changing up in
variation.
order to exactly. So nonetheless, we're just speaking from a theoretical standpoint because they say that this is theory, and like I said, we live in a time and day where there's evidence to back up both sides of the table, and maybe three sides or four sides of the table now. I mean, there's so much information out there, and different ways that we can fathom things, or ways that we can dive deep. But nonetheless, that African genome is installed in everybody's body according to theory. And if everybody migrated out, there's ways that we can bring about this genome to make it more prominent. But yeah, absolutely, Tavern, respect. But we can make this African genome show, or put itself out there on Front Street, put itself on blast, make it more prominent by consuming certain things. And it starts going through all these different, like, look, man, it gets deep in here. We start talking about the ecosystem, and we start talking about the different plants and where they're growing and how they're growing and where they come
Yeah.
from.
And that
Then we
determines
start.
nutrient content too.
Yes, you overstand. And we
Yeah.
start start talking about like the Neanderthal genome. You see, when we start talking genomes and stuff like
Oh,
that, it really
look.
starts to get
Because
deep,
I
man.
did that 23andMe thing, and like I especially when I first did, because this was like probably like 5 or 6 years ago. There wasn't a whole lot of Black people that was using that service, so there wasn't a whole lot to compare my DNA to because my
Exactly.
genetics was mostly African DNA. So they were
Ah,
able to like they were only able to kind of go off of like, well, based on your race and what we know about like in general, you might be at risk of da 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 da. But as more Black people started getting they DNA sequence, they were able to give me more accurate health and genetic markers for different things and stuff like that. And then they brought that up about the Neanderthal DNA, and they basically said that like my DNA had less than like 2% of the Neanderthal DNA compared to their, the pool of their people, which were mostly white people. And so basically what happened is that when some of our people migrated slightly further north, an ice age hit. And once the ice age hit, they couldn't get back across that land bridge because there was a big block of ice there. So they were stuck in this area with unevolved hominids, which were Neanderthals at the time, and they
sure.
interbred with them in the caves and the mountains and things like that. And so that's how those genetic markers from the because Neanderthals are not Homo sapiens. They are not they're not a part of our species at all. Like they're actually
That's right.
a lateral a parallel what is that evolutionary line. So we did
Yeah,
not
yeah.
evolve from the same from the same line. So that's why it creates that genetic variation. And so the higher amount of the Neanderthal chromosomal DNA that's found, there's a lot of different genetic markers and things that pull you further and further from the African haploid what they call it the haploid genetics. So they follow your it's
Yes.
matrilineal, follows your mother's DNA, because the female bloodline actually carries mitochondrial DNA, and the mitochondria is actually a separate organism that became symbiotic within our cells. So the mitochondria is a little tiny little oval shaped cell. It almost looks like a little pill, and that is the energy center of every single cell in our body. But it was a completely separate organism. And when we were, a couple of cells hanging around, like we just happened to eat that one and we were bigger, and it was like, oh, look, we can live together, and it worked out. And then we were able to build more complex bodies from that. Like animals, all of that stuff came from those two getting together and like, hey, we made something powerful here. And that is why that mitochondrial DNA is preserved, because it is actually independent of I guess our other genetic DNA. So yeah, that was.
Damn, that's deep, man. That is
But that's
deep.
that's why I'm like, we definitely gonna get into that on the science show, because that was one of my favorite classes in college, was genetics and biochemistry. That's what made me do my concentration in biochemistry, because I saw that genetics was one of my required courses. I was like, yes, because I want to take that. Because I wanted that class, and I wanted to count for my major. Like I wasn't taking any extra classes that I didn't need to. So yeah.
It's a deep piece like that, man. I tell you what, when you start diving into the genomes or the genetics of different peoples all over the world, it starts to unravel, a
Treasure
lot of the
trove.
entanglement. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Something that I've always been an advocate of is understanding the pH levels of the body, because we know that different organs throughout the body, they hold different pH levels. Like, for example, the stomach has to have a low super acidic pH in
That's the
order
point.
to yeah, exactly. You understand? So between 1.35 to 3.5 roughly is what they say. I don't know this from testing myself, but I know this from accumulating knowledge and using discernment, a big word again here. Make sure you use discernment and know that the information that you're getting from particular peoples is actually checking out checks and balances, especially in your life. But we got
Mm.
things like the stomach, and the lining of the stomach actually has a neutral pH. So look at how we have those contradicting or conflicting pHs right there. But every single piece of our body holds different ones. The skin, the outer layer, has around 4.0, and that's to protect it from like bacteria and things that's in the environment. We're going to be ever present around bacteria. It's going to be a part of our life until the end of time. There's no way to get away from it. There's no way to get away from virus. There's no way to get away from um, we'll just call it those two, bacteria and virus. There's no way to get away from a lot of these things. They're ever present around us. They're in the air. They're on microscopic levels. They're crawling all around us. We consume good bacteria and bad bacteria. So it's all about how you view it. But nonetheless, the inner layer of our skin, so right below the surface of our skin, where the blood is flowing, is roughly 6.9. You understand? So
Yeah.
6.9. Once again, we have those conflicting things, and they all hold a purpose. You see, the body is not stupid. The body is of intelligent design. You understand? The body was created like this for a particular reason. It's almost like each and every organ in the body has its own consciousness, in a sense, because it knows its function. It knows what it's supposed to do. And I think us as humans, we lack a purpose. A lot of us don't really see a purpose in life. Maybe it was different way back when there was no light pollution, no technological pollution, this, that, and the other. But we see nowadays, man, a lot of people don't have a purpose in life or don't know what that is. And each
Right.
and every organ has a purpose like that. The pancreas, 8.0 to 8.3, which is another deep piece. The intestines have a range from the small ones, at least 6.0, all the way to 7.4. So we have that fluctuation depending on what it needs to be at particular points in time of digestion, or when things are passing through, or when nothing is
Yeah.
going on, when it's at its time of rest. You see, a lot of people make the mistake of eating past 9 p.m. at nighttime. I've been catching myself doing that for the past 2 days, and because I'm
Me
running
too.
a busy schedule, there's
And
no
then
excuse.
your sleep be
No excuse. I
jacked.
gotta be hard. You see what I'm saying?
Sleep
You
be
know,
all jacked up.
I tell you, man. It makes for a rough night and a rough morning,
Especially if
man.
you go to sleep like within 2 or 3 hours after. If you know you're gonna be up to
Yeah.
like 12, 1 o'clock, then eating at 9, that's actually not that bad. But like if you eat at 9 and then you sleep by 10, like you didn't give your body time to digest it, get it where it needs to be so that it cannot be focusing on digesting while it's supposed to be focusing on restoring and replenishing your body. Yeah.
Rough like that. Just to finish off here real quick, we're gonna drop into the blood, which has a pH between 7.35 or 7.45,
Ah,
which you usually hear about keeping the blood in the 7.4 pH range. And what does pH stand for? Potential hydrogen. So obviously, the lower the pH, the more hydrogen is present. The higher pH, the less hydrogen is present. So when we have the blood at a stable level like that, that means that we can allow homeostasis to occur in the body, and everything could be harmonized. You know what I'm saying? No wickedness, no disease can form. Whenever you get sick and things of that nature, I wish we had these individual tests that we can do every time we got sick, so that every individual can verify this, that their blood has dropped below a 7.4 or a
oh, you can.
7.35 pH.
I think
When I've done
CVS or Walgreens or somebody has those things. I don't know if they're like over the counter, like if they have them behind the thing in the pharmacy or if they have them out in the
okay,
aisle. But I'm pretty sure you could go to one of them and ask.
most definitely, I have to keep that in mind, because somebody had gave me some tests back when, and like I said, I like to be a practitioner of the things that I do, or the things that I preach. What is being a practitioner with excuse me, what's being a preacher without practicing what you're preaching, So the things that I talk about, I go out there and conduct, man. All the knowledge that I'm consuming is not just taken in a book and just given to you. It's something that I become a practitioner of, to understand the effects that's happening. I'm my own doctor in a sense, man. I can never be a bush doctor. passing out bush meds if I don't understand the effects it's
Hey.
going to have on me. And some people are more reluctant to be my patients at times, especially when they're in dire straits of illness and stuff.
Mhm.
I've never had a cancer patient um, come to me, but I've been around my elder who treated a cancer patient through taking red clover and changing up the diet. First
Mhm.
thing is first. Everybody always comes to me and wants to know what herb do you. They,
Antioxidant.
they, they look like I'm a pharmacist, man. What
Right.
herb do you
Like,
got that's gonna take care of this
it's
cancer
not
right
no
away? I said
no, it's a
exactly.
lifestyle
You see,
change.
that's right, man. That's right. Change it up. Who you around, man. What you're consuming, man. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
All
It
of that.
all plays a part, man. Most people that's sick, they don't want to change their diet because that's the hardest thing, man. Once again, that repetition of 10,000 hours of eating the same way for years, man. What do you think that's done to you, man? It's made it almost an addiction. That's why we talk about these sugars and these salts. It's like giving sugar to a child is like giving cocaine to an adult.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
take cocaine, you're bouncing off the roofs,
That's
man.
what I'm thinking. My daughter, she
You're
don't even
up and
like
about.
sweet stuff. Like she don't
That's
waffles, her
respect,
little
man.
Herbalife donut. She don't put no syrup on it, no nothing, no
Ah, it's
don't put
love
no
and
jelly
respect,
on
man.
her toast. Put some butter on it and let her go ham on. Definitely
That's
a
love and
salty savory
respect.
baby.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's important that we teach the youth this, man, especially if the youth are attending schools and stuff like that, where the SAD or the SAD diet, the standard American diet, is once again in place in the cafeterias, man. They always
And
talk
the
about,
machines
oh,
and all.
we hiring on a nutritional coach for the cafeteria, or we got a nutrition specialist in there. Yeah, the words sound wonderful, man.
Right.
You'll be
And then
real
they
quick to
giving
pull
them
my leg telling me
juice
something like that.
boxes and
Hey, you see,
like mess and white toast. I'm like, how is it?
hey, man,
What is this?
yo.
They finna have a sugar rush, and then the teacher's gonna try and figure out why nobody wants to listen, especially after lunchtime, because they're on a sugar high. You just gave them a
Hey,
box
man.
of sugar water and a sandwich wrapped in sugar, and
Yo,
now
that's
you
just
want them to
so
sit
wicked. What you expect? Yo, quick case in point, man. I was having a funny reminiscent moment the other day. I was thinking about, diet and sugars and things that we was eating back in elementary school. And I can remember back in first grade, we had this one chick in the class. Her name was Jessie Bachman. Okay, there's this one chick, man. She was wild and crazy, man. And you gave her sugar, man, and she was even more wild and crazy, like the Tasmanian devil coming into the room and tornado coming through the room and just wild, man. The teachers could
down.
never keep her suppressed.
Yeah.
The teacher would try to talk and she was always like, hey, what about this? What about that? Hey, hey, hey. I was like, hey, what's going on with this lady, man? She's off the chain. I'm trying to learn. I'm in first grade, so I was laughing my tail off at the time, at this woman. But it was crazy, man. After lunch, I remember everybody's like, where's Jessie at, man? Nobody's seen her around. And one of the teachers tied her to the chair with a scarf, man. so, she, so she couldn't get up and move, man. So she was tied to the chair like this, man. You understand? And the teacher's name was Mrs. Schobel. And that teacher, man, I think this had to scar Jessie for the rest of her life because I never seen her after first grade. She must have moved away to her next school. But the
Oh,
teacher got fired, man. They reprimanded the teacher,
sure.
man, and the
'Cause I'm
teacher
like,
was probably so happy. I'm telling you what, though, the teacher, Miss Shovel, was probably so reluctant to do that at the moment, man, because this kid was just consumed all of this sugary substance from the lunchroom, not knowing that the school was the one that brought on this episode, man, or this what we consider ADD, this
right.
deficit disorder, and she had to do something about it. Nobody else was doing nothing about it. They say, oh, that's just how she was. But me looking back and reflecting on the situations, you see, there's something deep that we can do, man. It's like this reflective meditation. You sit there and you talk about this or have somebody talk about it with you, and it allows you to recollect the information that was going on at a particular point in time, anywhere throughout your life, any day. You can get down to the day and to the point in time. My uncle's therapist was teaching him how to do this, and my uncle is in turn teaching me this. And it's very deep. I'm starting to recollect or remember things that I thought I'd never remember. You know what I'm saying? So it's a deep piece of work. But nonetheless, they tied her to that chair, man. And I always thought the teacher was wicked for it. But now that I reflect nowadays, I could definitely understand why things like this was going on because, look what was being promoted, man. These wicked diets, these wicked SAD diets in the cafeterias and the lunchroom that's, taking control of us, man. Just imagine these kids, man, going around eating all this sugar. You know it. You've seen it. All these kids going around eating all this candy for lunch with their headphones in. And what do you think they're listening to, man? RockTrue Beatz once again. We're listening to all this wicked stuff, man. And it's so unfortunate, man, that these things go hand in hand. Just think about when you're taking a drug, man. Or what people consider drugs. It heightens the heights. It heightens the experience. So what you're hearing or what you're experiencing, what you're listening to, it becomes more profound to the body, to the mental, to the mind. So we have to look at these things like that and be conscious of what we're consuming and how much of things we're consuming. Make sure we get the herbs into our body, man. They grow all around us. They grow all around in Mother Nature. Things that come from the motherland. If y'all didn't know, you see, these things are not necessarily native here to the States, but was overstood by the natives when they started finding these things. When colonization happened and people started bringing their different herbs from all around the world. A lot of these things originate like yellow dock and red clover and burdock and dandelion, Central Asia, all the way to Africa. You understand? These are the two main starting points for a lot of things in this world. Remember, at one point in time, all the continents was connected into one big one called Pangea. You understand? It became something serious for people to understand. When you understand it like that, then we start to see the correlation and the connection, and then we can have a lot more respect for Mother Earth, so we don't have to pollute her so much like the wicked man is doing. And then we can also be able to understand, like I said, our alkaline herbal medicine, man. Get yourself a copy of this book if you get a chance. If y'all can see the author down there, Akil Anis. So a wonderful African brethren right there, man. Serious peace, man. Alkaline herbal medicine. I recommend everybody who gets a chance to get this. They start talking about things like red clover, bladderwrack. All of these yellow dock, blessed thistle, milk thistle, blue vervain, burdock, cascara,
Fennel.
contrigo.
I got a cabinet full of teas and stuff because when I was pregnant and breastfeeding, like I was having like kind of like stop and go, like slow flow and all of that. Fennel actually helps with breast milk production. So if you are you a new mom, because I it's a whole bunch of pregnant women on my timeline. So y'all.
Yes. so we like to call that what they call a galactagogue. Okay, a galactagogue, you kind of pick out the root word in there, lact, or like lactose or lactate. We see galactagogue. We see different herbs like that, like stinging nettle is another great one for that. Dandelion is another heavy galactagogue, man. I done had some women drinking dandelion root when they was after they had given birth, to increase the production and to replenish the body too, man. After that big 9 months of carrying around extra weight and feeding an extra person, an extra body, you're taking a lot out of your body, man, a lot of nutrients and such. So we need to make sure we replenish and cleanse. And that's why things like yoni steams are important, different herbs like your dandelions and your red clovers up in the yoni steams, the raspberry leaves. You see, these things to really cleanse the woman, cleanse the womb, and recenter things,
It's a concentrated antioxidant directly on your vaginal skin. It's basically like if you have like a good lotion, or like matter of fact, if you have a yeast infection, what do? They go and they give you a cream to put on there. Like it's the same thing. You can use garlic. You can use actual just plain yogurt, because that's all
balance that pH, man.
And that's all they doing is just killing the bacteria that's overgrowing and making sure that the other bacteria that's been overgrown is back in its regular place, because that stuff already lives down there. It's not no foreign nothing coming in there. That is stuff that lives there on a regular basis. All right, something that you did or didn't do made the situation or the environment proper for it to overgrow the other bacteria and cause those, the irritation, the symptoms, and all that other stuff. So all it's doing is just rebalancing. So you can do that on your own if you're aware of those things. Drinking more water, getting cranberry juice, having proper probiotics. All of that stuff affects your entire body chemistry and all of the bacteria all over your body. And natural herbs and stuff, you can put it in your bath water. You don't have, even if you don't want to steam, you can put it in your bath water. Like you put Epsom salts and stuff in there. You could put some herbs in your bath water. Okay,
it's just like sitting in a big bath of tea, man. Instead of drinking the tea, you bathe in it, man. One way or another, get them herbs into your body, because they do you such justice.
The largest organ on your body, and it is an absorbing organ. So
It becomes something deep, Dr. Ak. Hey, we're gonna spend another hour here talking if we
I
don't
know,
wrap
right?
things up,
Yeah,
man.
I didn't even notice the time because you right in my favorite subject. Now we like what?
You understand? We get down with it, man. We ain't playing around. We coming here to bust you upside the head if somebody ain't tapped you already, man, because this knowledge needs to be put out there, man. Words sound power. You understand? We need to come out there and talk that real stuff, that realness, man. You know, we're supposed to be RockTrue Beatz today, but hey, man, RockTrue Beat eats, man. Be what you eat. You understand? What we
Okay.
consume. Yeah, man, we got to put a little twist on it today, man. Dr. Og, every time you come on the show, you know, we talking some righteousness, man, some stuff that the people ain't exposed to like that. Or maybe they just need to hear it from somebody on our level, you know, somebody that could keep it real like that. We don't necessarily need a doctor to say all these big words to us. We need to keep it fun and creative, you know, so that it doesn't get so boring with the people. And I find it fun, you know, I find it fun to be able to soak in information, especially on this platform. When I watch a Rock True Science, same way, you understand? I'm always getting my laughs in, and I'm soaking in knowledge, and I'm looking at the analogies, and you know, it's not just look under the microscope and you see all these things moving around. No, it's like look at the amoeba over here, man. He's looking at his neighbor this way, man, and he's thinking that, you know, this person wicked, so we
Right.
need to do something about this, that, and the other. You know, so so many correlations, man. There's so many correlations in the way we can create a wonderful vision or create a nice picture, a portrait for people to go ahead and consume into their mind. You know, I think it's
Exactly.
important nowadays that we keep things fun like that. And like I said, I always give respect to you and holding it down on Rock True Science, because it really puts some fat on my head, man. Science is very important than ever, you know, especially in a day and age. Look at the way science and health going hand in hand, man. It's very
Oh yeah,
important
for
nowadays.
certain. Yeah. And it's
You
important for
understand?
people to understand it for themselves and not just have somebody tell them, because the thing about science is that it is a very personal experience, because your body is just that, your body. Nobody else can tell you about your body better than you, because you have your own set of DNA. Like your DNA is the most like infinitely unique thing about you. Like nobody else has your genetic sequence. Like nobody, not even your identical twin. Like y'all are genetically, but then once you start growing up and stuff, like you notice that the expression of that DNA is different now, because now you occupy a different space. So even though if genetically y'all might be identical, that genetic expression is not identical. So therefore your genetics are identical. So you and your twin can eat the same food and do the same stuff and end up with different bodies. Why? Because you
That's right.
occupy different spaces. You have different thoughts, feelings, interactions with the world around you. So it is important for you to understand that for yourself. Even your doctor, that's why when you go to see a doctor for the first time, they ask you a ton of questions. They have you fill out
Yeah.
like the basic information, but you have to tell them how your body is responding to stuff. Symptoms, that things that you might not even think is a symptom, they're going to recognize that as a symptom because they're a doctor and they were trained for that. But they don't know the symptoms if you aren't telling them your symptoms. If you say, yeah, when I go to sleep, I usually only sleep like a couple of hours at a time, and then I keep waking up. Sleep interruption and insomnia and stuff is actually a symptom of something. But if you're not
Absolutely.
mentioning that, they can't make that connection and treat you properly. So if you have to talk to your doctor, tell you to shut up. Seriously, especially if they're new and they ain't been your family doctor for a minute, and talk until they say, okay, I need to be able to think now. Can you stop talking?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You just talked about lack of sleep and trouble sleeping and stuff like that. Hey, man, that has to go hand in hand with your low iron levels, man. You understand? You got low iron levels, get some yellow dot, get some burdock, get some dandelion in you. You understand? Hey, man, it's a thin line between love and hate. Melvin and the Blue Notes one time.
She didn't climb in my bed to mess with some
Hey,
stuff.
man. I see you pointing up there. I'm like, damn, where this baby go, man?
Yeah, she didn't climbed up in my bed to mess with. She didn't already colored on the walls and stuff with them earlier when I wasn't here.
Oh,
So
yes, I understand. But nonetheless, Dr. Achman, before we spend another hour on here chopping it up and putting some fat on people's heads, man, and each other's heads too, let's wrap it up, man. It's been a wonderful Tuesday. I give thanks for you coming on. Another episode of RockTrue Beatz. You understand? Be what you eat, man. We're going to change up the flow one time this day, man. And give thanks to Count Ossie and the mystic revelation of
yeah,
Rastafari, man. Serious vibration when y'all get a chance to check it out. Please check
I'll
it out,
post
man,
the
because it's
YouTube
shot. Take
link
you there.
under in the comments of this video because it's a whole vibe. Okay, I might
Please do,
listen to this
man.
tonight to go to sleep to.
Yo, listen, I see you there. I shall drift off into that faraway land that you talking myself, man. It's something deep, man. Music is power, man. Music is a very powerful piece. Just like word is powerful. Word sound power. Hey, man. But let me wrap it up before I go on the next rant. Like I said, RockTrue Beatz, man. Give thanks, Chris Lyon, Miss Dr. Aka. It's been a wonderful pleasure chopping it up with you again. We always dropping some fat on people's head. And like we love to say at the end of the show here, man. We see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Until next time, man. Rocking with y'all. RockTrue Beatz. Peace.